Welcome back to First Baptist Church. And since it is October, I thought we'd do something a little bit different. Have a question and answer session with our pastor, but this time on spooky and creepy and the weirdness.
Okay. Halloween, the spooky time of the year.
Yes. It's October. What else can I do? So my first question is, when Christ appeared to the disciples after he was crucified, he appeared in the locked upper room, correct?
Yes.
They accused him of being a ghost.
Yes.
Christ said, "I'm not a ghost. Feel me, touch me, put your fingers through the holes in my hands."
Yeah.
According to some, this is Christ debunking ghosts and telling us there is no such thing.
He didn't do that.
Well, then what did he do?
Well, he said, "I'm not a ghost."
Yes, so there's no such thing as ghosts according to some of these people on the internet.
Okay, well, when you think about ghosts, you have to think about your definition of ghost. Okay? If your definition of ghost is a spiritual apparition of the person who died and he's left something behind, then that's kind of way out there, kind of ridiculous. But if you're thinking about ghost as something else, then we can talk about that. But so when Christ said, "I'm not a ghost," he was telling the disciples, listen, I'm not a ghost. He did not say there's not other things that might be considered a ghost.
Okay.
Okay? And it's interesting that the disciples thought he was a ghost, which means the concept of a ghost goes back to the time of Christ. And it hasn't changed much from the time of Christ to today. So we're still left with what is a ghost. And so he didn't debunk the idea that there might be something that we can consider a ghost. It's interesting when you think about this aspect of things. God created everything. Mm-hmm. And the Bible talks about various things. Now, we know from the Bible that there's God revealed in the Trinity. We know that there's Lucifer or Satan as a fallen angel. We know there are angels, and we know that they're part of the things that God created. But we also know that Paul talks about principalities and powers.
Which is not covered in the realm.
Which is not covered in this realm over here. So we're talking about something else. And I didn't even mention the demons that are part of that fallen angels, because it talks about a third of the angels fell with Lucifer. So we have all these things that we could talk about and ask, is this what is a ghost? He didn't debunk the idea of ghost. He just said, I'm not one of them. It'd be like me saying, oh, my truck's not a Ford.
Well, your truck is not a Ford, your truck is a Dodge.
Yeah, my truck is a Dodge, but what I mean is, if I say, oh no, it's not a Ford, then
it doesn't debunk that there
it
are
doesn't
Fords.
say there's no Fords. A kid was talking about my car the other day, and he kept calling it a Mustang, and I kept telling him, no, it's a Challenger. It's not a Mustang. It didn't mean that I didn't say Mustangs don't exist. It just simply means mine's not a Mustang. When Christ said, I'm not a ghost, he didn't say they don't exist. He just said, I'm not one of them.
Okay, so Christ did not debunk ghosts in one small sentence.
Not in that statement, no.
Okay, so you mentioned that there's Christ, there's God, there's the Holy Spirit, the Trinity.
Yes.
Satan.
Yes.
But you also mentioned powers and principalities, and you mentioned demons and angels.
Yes.
I have heard, and I've been told, that Christians don't believe in demons, angels, or anything like this because it's only a projection of what God and Satan are doing. You're already rolling your eyes at me.
Read the Bible.
I have.
Well, I would say to them, read the Bible. What did Christ cast out of the man who we call the madman of Gadarene.
Demons.
Demons. How many of them were there?
Legion.
Lots of them. Christ talks about another man who says, I'm going to clean myself up. He throws the demon out and cleans himself out. And the demon comes back and says, hey, this place is all clean. He goes and gets 5 of his buddies and comes back and inhabits the man. So Christ himself is saying they're demons. But he also says there's unclean spirits,
Which are not demons.
which is a separate entity. So when you think about unclean spirits, demons, you're talking about 2 different things. And an unclean spirit is something that, is there, maybe within the man himself, but the demon is something that is exterior and can inhabit a man. So there's no angels. Good grief. Isaiah chapter 6, it talks about the angels. Michael, the archangel, it talks about him. The angels came down and heralded the birth of Christ. That's where we get Hark the Herald Angels sing. Don't be afraid. That's
Their catchphrase?
Yeah, that's kind of their catchphrase when they appear to people, and I can understand why. Mary talked to an angel. So to just simply say there isn't demons, there isn't angels, is like saying, I haven't read the Bible.
Which I'm assuming these people have not.
Which I'm assuming that these people have decided what parts they want to read and not read, and just want to ignore where it says there's angels, or where it says there's demons, or where it says there's unclean spirits, or where it says there's powers and principalities, where it says there's other created things. We don't know what all is there. The Bible isn't about all these things. It's about my relationship to God. When people try to make it more than that, they miss the point of what the Bible is about.
It's true. Now, I've been asked this question personally.
Okay?
You believe in the supernatural. You can't be a true Christian then because you believe in the supernatural. God is God, and there is nothing besides him. So you are not a true Christian if you believe in ghosts or demons or angels or anything besides God and the Trinity.
Okay.
How would you answer that question? Again, they should
Okay.
read their Bible.
First of all, what is the supernatural? What are you talking about when you say the supernatural?
They were referring to ghosts, apparitions, demon possession, because demons did not do that, which was something else that they told me. And they were talking about the realm where Stephen King kind of dabbles in.
Where Stephen King dabbles in his whole
Yes.
wide range. To eliminate the supernatural in the context that you're talking about is to say everything is physical.
Yes.
Well, that's not true. Balaam's donkey, for example. Balaam couldn't see all the angels that were around him. And his donkey wouldn't go on. And finally God opened Balaam's eyes to where he could see what his donkey saw. Well, there's a whole new discussion we could have on that aspect of things. But there is so much that we don't understand that is not of this physical realm. And Hebrews tells us, when we entertain strangers, that we may be entertaining angels unaware. They're there. We just don't always see them. We just don't always know that they are right there at that point. So to just dismiss the supernatural is to say that you have to have empirical evidence for everything. Well, that's science, and I don't have a problem with science. But there's more to life than what I can see, what I can touch, what I can feel and hear. And without getting into everything that you're talking about, there is so much more than what we know. And it's amazing if you just allow yourself to see it and open up to it. The supernatural can range from dreams to witchcraft to, Darth Vader, and all these things. Who are we to say what God created and didn't create? I mean, He's the one in charge, not me. And the supernatural, not the show. I have my problems with that show. But the supernatural is simply things that we can't explain. And I believe one day we will. And one day we'll know more. But right now we simply can't, so therefore we just say, oh, it's supernatural. To say then that if you're a Christian and you believe in the supernatural, you're not a Christian, is to say that God only created what I can put my hand on.
You've seen my list of questions.
Yeah, I
And
have.
without answering the last question, have you ever encountered something like that you cannot explain? Something that made a difference in your life?
Okay. Yeah. Years ago, we was getting ready to go from Portland to Missouri, and we were going to take US 97 down through Klamath Falls and then 140 across. Beautiful road, by the way.
Mm-hmm.
And I had this dream that going down the road, and there was a motorcycle on the side of the road, and he was sitting there doing some things, very specific things, and went a little bit further on down the road, and there was this Mustang that was broke down, had the hood up, and steam was coming out from underneath of the hood. Went a little bit further down the road, and there was a hitchhiker there. And then went a little bit further down the road, and coming around the blind curve, I had a head-on collision with a Cadillac Escalade, and that was the dream. So we're going down 97, and there's the motorcycle. There's the Mustang. There's the guy hitchhiking. I pull off the road, and on my side of the road is a Cadillac Escalade.
Yes, we were all in the car and you didn't say a word.
No. So, explain that.
I can't.
Yeah. And it talks about God giving dreams. And so I believe that that's God giving a dream. There's other things that you would really wonder about. My dad, 12 years ago, passed away. And I came home after the funeral, after everything, was laying in bed, and I knew my dad was there. And I didn't say a word about it to anybody except to my brother Tom. And Tom said he had the same thing. So we got a hold of Bill and Mark, and they had the same thing. So you look at these things and you say, yeah, there is something more than what we understand. And I don't know what that is, but I know God's in control with it.
Now, the bulk of what we've talked about has been good things that happened. The dream.
Yeah.
We're obviously not dead. We did not have the head-on collision. Grandpa coming and letting you know he was there.
Yeah.
It's not a bad thing. I've heard other stories from you and from Grandma and from other members of the family. They're good things that happen.
Yeah.
But there's also the whole other side of this supernatural world that is, for lack of a better term, evil.
Yeah.
So I have been asked the question, you believe in God, you believe that he is above everything and he can conquer anything. So if you have any fear of the supernatural, the evil side of the supernatural, you are not a true Christian. So because you cannot give it over to God. What would you say to a person asking you that question or telling you this, that if you fear anything, especially the supernatural, you are not a Christian. You don't believe.
It's within our human nature to fear things we do not understand. So for a person to say, I don't fear that, they're not telling the truth. Because there is a sense of fear that comes. And even if it's fleeting just like that, there is that sense of fear. And yes, I have been confronted with things that you would say would be supernatural, or with people that are, in my opinion, would be demon-possessed. And yeah, there's that moment of fear because I'm there in my human self. But once you fall back and rely on God, you realize that you have nothing to fear. Now the other point of that is simply because I can say I don't have anything to fear, I don't necessarily have to go out and seek it out. Just because I know I can win a battle doesn't mean I want to go fight it. So I have a book in the office entitled A Hill on Which to Die. And what the whole thing is there is choose your battles. So, yeah, there's a momentary fear. You deal with that and give it over to God and you go on from there. But the human nature, who we are, there's always going to be that little bit of fear there because you're dealing with something you don't know what the outcome's going to be or what's going to happen, and you don't know what is actually there. So there's always a little bit of fear, and without fear, you won't depend upon God. So you need that fear in order to say, yeah, I'm going to depend upon God. These people that say God won't give you anything greater than what you can handle, they don't understand what the Bible says. Yes, God's going to give you more than you can handle because you will depend upon him, and that fear that you have goes to him. And you don't have to be paralyzed by it, but you have to acknowledge it in order to give it to him.
Okay, so Christians can believe in the supernatural.
Yes.
Christians can be afraid of
Yes.
the supernatural.
Yes.
And you can still be a Christian.
Yes.
Okay. The other thing that I've been told is I cannot, this is the weird question, I cannot mix Christianity with anything else, and I know you're rolling your eyes at me already and giving me funny looks, but the Navajo, and I know Navajo culture a little bit, they believed in earth spirits and they believed in all these different spirits and things like that, and from what I've been told, that if you came from the Navajo and you wanted to be a Christian, the only way you could do that, according to these people, is to pull all of the Navajo, throw it aside, and only believe in Christianity. Only believe in what the Bible tells you.
Okay.
Do you?
Okay, first of all, Christianity is not a culture religion.
No.
Okay. There's stories about missionaries who went to Hawaii to try to be missionaries there, and instead of proclaiming the gospel, they tried to change the culture. The same thing happened in the Navajo Nation. The same thing has happened all over the world. The message of Christianity is God loves you. And it doesn't matter who you are, how you dressed, what color you are, what background you have. It's God loves you. So we'll come back to the Navajo for a moment because you brought that up. They had some things that they did in their construction of homes that was asking the Navajo gods to bless their home. Well, the Christian couple was building a home, and they didn't want to ask the Navajo gods to bless their home. They wanted to ask our God, Jesus, to bless the home. So I got together with one of the other pastors there who happened to be Native American, and we worked out a ceremony. And instead of burying a scroll or something in the doorpost for the Navajo god, we took an old Bible and put it in the doorpost and asked God to bless the home. So what did we do? We took a Navajo thing and made it a Christian thing. And is there a problem with that? No. Because now when people would walk in and out of that house, they go past the Bible. And it's a testimony to anybody who comes into that home, as long as this couple was there, because they would tell people about the blessing of the home and about how God was the one who was there at that home, and he was the one who had been invited into that home. Well, had I not done that, they would have had no blessing upon the home. And they would have nothing that they could have said. Well, and then you say you can't mix Christianity with some of these other beliefs. What about Christmas? What about Easter?
Christmas and Easter were pagan holidays that we took and Christianized.
Yes. Christmas and Easter were pagan holidays that the Catholic Church Christianized. So these very people who say you can't mix Christianity and some other religion
have already done it.
Have already done it in celebrating Christmas and in celebrating Easter. And I don't have a problem with, okay, I know Christ wasn't born in December. He was born in the spring of the year. I also don't have a problem with Easter per se. You know, that keeps moving the date and all that kind of stuff. Christ wasn't crucified on Friday. That's a whole different topic. Another video. But so they've already Christianized it. And using the Catholic Church again, the Navajo people use corn pollen for a lot of different things. So there at San Benito, the Catholic Church, instead of using just pure holy water, put corn pollen in the holy water. I'm not saying it's a good thing or a bad thing. I'm just saying that that's something that they did. Now, when we take the message of Christ out to a different culture, you have to be aware of that culture in order to share the gospel of Christ.
Even if that culture is deep into spirits and superstition?
Yes, even if that culture is deep into spirits and superstition. Paul, as he's in Corinth, he's walking around and he sees all these idols everywhere, and he mixes Christianity and paganism by looking and saying, I see a statue here to the unknown God. You know, and he says, I perceive you guys are pretty superstitious because you have that statue to the unknown God. Let me tell you who this unknown God is. What did Paul just do?
Mixed Christianity and paganism.
Yes.
Again.
Yeah. So he says, you know, we have the statement when in Rome, as Romans do. Paul said, put it this way, I became all things to all men that I might win some. So we are mixing Christianity with whatever the culture might be, and we are sharing what? The love of God. And everything else really doesn't matter. You know, so sure, after a person comes to accept Christ and they have that relationship with God, there's going to be some changes and things that's going on. But we're not there to go, that's wrong, that's wrong, that's wrong. We're there to say, let me share with you the love of God. And if I have to use their blessing on a home to share the love of God, I'll do that. If another place, the home had been cursed. They found chicken feet all around the home, which meant
that was a huge Navajo curse.
that was a huge curse. So we came and we lifted the curse, something the medicine men couldn't do and the shamans couldn't do. But we as Christians could come in and lift the curse.
Is that the house you marched around?
Yes, that's the house we went around. We took it from Joshua as he marched around the place. And we lifted the curse from the home, and the people were so appreciative because God was greater than the curse that had been placed on the house. So we took some of the Navajo stuff and we put Christ over top of it and removed it.
It works.
It works.
Okay, we've talked about ghosts, we've talked about curses, we've talked about demons, angels, and this whole supernatural realm. Sorry. Realm. Do you believe in ghosts? Do you believe in apparitions? I mean, what do you believe here? Because you can sit there and defend it to me all you want to, but do you have any experience in it? Oh, fun, I touched on a subject.
Do I believe in ghost? Your definition of ghost is, if you are defining ghost as a leftover human spirit, no.
Then what is your definition of ghost?
My definition of ghost is an evil spirit or demon left behind that was in a person. And when that person's died, that evil spirit or that demon has been left behind.
And do you believe in these?
Yes.
Have you had an experience? Okay. Now I'm curious.
It was 1971. We had just moved into a house in Silver Creek. And the story of the house, and Dad bought it anyway, was that a person had committed suicide up in the attic, the third floor of the house. And it was cheaper for some reason, I guess. Anyway, you could see this thing come down the stairs from the attic into the hallway, down the hallway, and then down the stairs. And you could see that every night. You could see it. Well, Tom decided that he was going to sleep up in the attic. He had his own room up there. So he spent all day cleaning up the attic. And in the morning, Tom was downstairs on the couch, baseball bat on one side of him and Bible on the other side.
I suppose he saw her, or it.
What he said, things were coming out of the walls. I did not see that. But I do know that would come down the stairs all the time. Interestingly enough, Dad sold the place. And shortly after that, it burned down. But that was an evil presence in that house. That's not the only time, but that is the time that has been more severe, more real than any other time. And there was something in that house that was evil incarnate. It was pure evil.
But it didn't touch you guys.
No, it couldn't. Greater is he that is in you
Then is he that is in the world.
than he that is in the world. That's 1 John, and we often take that verse and we say, oh, we're victorious, or whatever it might be with that verse.
But it couldn't touch you, or Uncle Tom, or Uncle Bill, or Uncle Mark.
Or
I
dad
don't
or
think.
mom.
Or dad or mom.
Yeah,
It couldn't touch you guys.
no, it couldn't, because,
Greater is he that is in you.
yeah, than he is in the world. Therefore, there was nothing it could do. Now, has there been other experiences of that nature? Yes. Have there been any that vivid, that strong, that where you could hear the voice of the person, not the person, of the energy? No. That one is the strongest thing that's ever been there. And as weird as it sounds, that sometimes comes back, and I think, that was scary. It still is at times. But knowing that God was the one that was in control. Now, do I believe in ghosts left behind as a matter of a person dies and at least, no. I do not believe in that. Because when a person dies, they are immediately either in the presence of God or they wake up in hell. There's no person that's left behind. There's no unfinished business that a ghost has to do. There's no, I gotta help somebody do something type thing. Our spirit doesn't linger here, but there's other spirits that do. And it's interesting to me that those spirits that Christ cast out of the man at Gadarene had to get his permission to go into even the pigs. Mm-hmm. So these spirits that are there, they have to get God's permission in order to inhabit something else. And that's why I think there's a lot of them left behind in that aspect of things, because God simply says, no, I'm not going to give you permission to go and do that. Now, a person, I think, could go, well, I'm going to ask that spirit to come in anyway.
It's a creepy thought.
Yeah. And see, that's why you haven't asked the question yet, and I don't think it's even on your list. But that's why witchcraft is real.
I wasn't even going to touch that yet. That's next video.
Okay. We'll talk about that later.
You're a video ahead.
Okay. Yeah. And that's why some of these other things are real, because people ask that spirit to come in.
Yeah, witchcraft, voodoo, and all these things
when
were...
we think about, do I believe in ghosts? Not in the common sense.
But you do believe in a spiritual apparition of sorts.
Yes, and I believe places can inhabit or be inhabited with very evil spirits. Things like ghost hunters, nah. But other things, yeah, I believe there's there.
Okay. Well, as he said, we will have more on this. Join us next time. Don't forget to like and subscribe. And if you have any questions you want to ask, follow us on Instagram and Twitter. Thanks, guys.